So this committee hearing was on the National Security Subcommittee, and that created a window of opportunity to push through a UAP hearing. Additionally, there's been some bipartisan efforts around greater disclosure that are starting to kick in. Additionally, another reason why this is happening right now is that this is a story of organizing. I don't know what to tell you. People may want to be cynical about that, but truly, there are a lot of people in this country who are very interested in this topic, and there has been increasing pressure and organizing that transcends party lines, and that has resulted in the inclusion of several UAP disclosure requirements that Congress included in past defense authorizations. And so there have actually been task forces that were mandated by Congress in recent years, and there's more legislation this year. And there have also been mandated disclosure that has really been the first of its kind in a long time, which is why that mandated public and congressional reporting results in more... Sorry, my phone was dying, so I had to move. Anyways, so the other question I'm getting asked a lot is, what do you think? And if I just put on my investigator hat, which is the hat that we all put on the Oversight Committee, it is part of our Article 2 responsibilities under the Constitution. Witness testimony is important. You cannot rely on witness testimony alone, but it is very often a helpful starting point because it is completely different when a person decides to say something to the media or say something in public versus what they say under oath. When a person is willing to go under oath and risk perjuring themselves or risk being held in contempt of Congress, that's a very serious thing. And so you have to take the things that they say seriously. That being said, there have been instances where a person may have said something under oath and they were mistaken. Now, it doesn't mean that they were lying. It could have been truly what they thought was the truth. Now, I'm not speaking to any of the witnesses that we heard from this week. I'm just talking about investigative principles. Now, that being said, taking something under oath, and if someone levies a very serious accusation that potentially has to do with wrongdoing or something going on, it can be grounds to investigate further, which is why it's very important to listen to the specific words that a person chooses to say under oath versus the words that they use when not under oath, right? You have to pay attention to specifically what is said under oath. So anyways, what do I think? Do I think UAPs are real? Are UAPs real? UAP stands for unidentified, anomalous, or aerial phenomena. But people say anomalous because now it's water or air. Do I believe that there are phenomena that have been identified by pilots, both, either commercial, military, etc., that have gone unidentified? Sure, yeah. I think so. I think that's fair to say. We heard from some pretty credible witnesses. One is a commander who has verified video that is unidentified. So by definition, there are phenomena that have gone unidentified. There are plenty of UAP incidents which have been identified, but there are some that have been unidentified. Now, do I think those are aliens? That's a different question. Here's what I do think. I do think there's something going on. I do think that, and I know that in the past, we've dragged defense contractors before the committee, and I have questioned them. I'll see if I can put a link or something, and I have questioned them, and I have found, and we have found as a committee, defense contractors hiding things. And one line of questioning that I had that was also part of a larger investigation on the committee resulted in tens of millions of dollars, over, I think it was $16 million, just from one smaller contractor alone, over $10 million getting returned to the public because of corrupt practices. So we have truly documented incidents of defense contractors being shady. And if you ask me, that was one of the themes that at least I found to be sticking out a lot during the hearing, was the presence of defense contractors. One of the witnesses called out Boeing as a contractor specifically. Another witness specifically called out abuse of the IRAD program and misuse of the appropriations process, which is basically Congress says we spend this money on this thing for this purpose, and sometimes people shift that money around in a way that's not exactly authorized. That to me is actionable. That to me is a thread that can be pulled. The other stuff is harder, right? But if there's something being covered, we should look at it. Moreover, what I also think is that it cuts to a core question of our democracy. We spend $800 billion on our defense budget alone. And mind you, that's not all the money that we're spending on military or defense, etc. Like, that's the low number because there are sub-budgets and other things, etc. It adds up. So we have $800 billion that we spend on defense. Do you know how much of our $800 billion in defense goes to defense contractors, private companies, of our whole defense budget? Half. 50%, almost $400 billion goes to private companies out of the U.S. defense budget, to companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all of that. And how many audits has the Pentagon passed? 0. And there have been people that have been trying to draw attention to this. I'll link one below that was on 60 Minutes, trying to sound the alarm about the corruption and greed of the defense contractor industry in this country. And so, do I think something is going on? Yes. There were specific defense contractors named. There were programs that were being abused that were named. And do I think there are grounds to pull on that thread further? Yes, I do. And I think that it should be pulled further. Do I know what it is? No. Am I going to be a hater? No. But I'm always interested in corruption and cover-ups. Like, that's my thing. Other people are more specialized in the other parts, So those are my thoughts on it. And for everyone who might say, whatever, like, this doesn't matter, we need to worry about rent and healthcare. First of all, hear you. Second of all, I actually think these issues are connected, because one of the reasons we're always told why the richest country, one of the excuses that we're told why the richest country on earth can't have universal health care is because we can't afford it, right? Well, we know that's a crock of nonsense, because we're spending trillions of dollars over years on military budgets that can't pass an audit, and half of which go to a bunch of private companies that are price gouging the public and engaged in corrupt activity. We know that that's true because we've uncovered it in the past. And we need to be spending those public funds on education, infrastructure, healthcare, housing, etc.